YouTuber who's leading the way. Yeah. He's got a passion for all things nerdy. Dungeons and Dragons, his world's not blurry. Stay where the nerds play. There's a YouTuber who's leading the way. Yeah. He's got a passion for all things nerdy. Dungeons and Dragons, his world's not blurry. From comics to movies, he's got it all. He's an Outpost Nerd living in a geeky world with his lightsaber shining. He's a Star Wars swerve through galaxies and adventures. He'll take you there, take you there. He's an Outpost Nerd, no one can compare. Nerd power. Yeah, he's the king of nerds, catching nothing.
What's up, my nerd geeks and dweebs, and welcome to another transmission from the Outpost Nerd. I am the nerd of the Outpost, and I hope everyone's having a good day. Today, I am reviewing Masters of the Universe 2026. So let's check out, like I always do, Rotten Tomatoes. Let's bring it up. Share screen. Sharing screen. Whoa. So let's talk about it. What are people saying? Make myself a little smileish. It was rated PG-13 with a runtime of 220 minutes. It was an adventure, action, fantasy, and it should have had a comedy on there because it tried to be funny. So with a critic score of 68% and a audience review of 87%, it seems like the fans like it more than the critics. So let's go down and see what the critics are saying, or the audience are saying. Let's bring that up. Let's see. We have 4 out of 5. Was awesome throwback to the 80s cartoon. Great action. Not too scary for kids. Second half of the movie was a little slower. I agree with that. It seemed like once they got to Eternia proper, it was fairly slow. It started slowing down because it had so many characters it had to introduce. And let's see. Daisy, 5 out of 5. I feel like I was watching my childhood. Great movie. I'm glad they enjoyed it. Kelly B, 4 out of 5. This was my childhood. Roy. Sean, 4 out of 5. While not perfect, I left the cinema feeling like a 10-year-old again. It took me back to a time when movies had a clearly visible hero, a genuine villain, and a sense of wonder. My daughters could see the enjoyment on my face every time Adam transformed into He-Man. Let's see what's the others. JD didn't. Seems we have multiple. It's being puffed up in reviews. See, Sean S. just an hour ago, and these are recent. So cheesy and filled with third grade humor. Who dare with my chat? My chat. Let's see. I grew up watching the cartoon and would not recommend. Let's see. Read a couple more of these. Great nostalgia and humor. Fun cast, visually appealing, tons of action. Poor story and script to attach to. Thomas, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. For a kid that grew up in the 80s, He-Man, this movie is glorious. I grew up in the 90s. And here's Smitty bringing up how I feel for the most part. Woke departure from original series Bertrand 850, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for being in here. Woke departure from the original series. Not sure how anyone liked this terrible humor and Prince Adam living in modern times with a he/him badge. So dumb and a bad movie overall. Okay, let's expound on that, shall we? So, when the trailer came out, we all saw the he/him nameplate, Adam something or other. I don't remember what his last name was. A lot of people thought it'd be woke. Well, it was a lot of HR. Like Adam was like, oh, there's Adam's day job on Earth is a humans resource consultant. He works in HR. This warrior prince, warrior king, the most powerful man in the universe, works in freaking HR. Come on. He lives in Oklahoma City, which just seemed kind of random to me. All what made the cartoon, the 80s and early 2000s show fun was all made up by Adam as a kid stuck on Earth. All the cool hero names, like Ram Man, who's one of my favorite core members. He's basically a human battering ram. But they chose, the cast they chose was just weird. They had Ram Man, Moss Man, and Fisto were the only three like original masters, heroic warriors that we saw. And it felt like so much was being left out. One of my favorite masters is Stratos. And he's not so much as mentioned. This is let me bring him up. He's basically, he's a Birdman, and he had the coolest weapons. He had this jetpack that made him faster, that he would have his wings were like up on his forearms, and he had rockets on his arms where it would shoot him off, and he could shoot missiles. No much is mentioned. Battle Cat doesn't show up. Cringer doesn't show up to like the last 15-20 minutes of the show, of the series, of the movie. And you know how much of Battle Cat we get? 10 seconds. Basically, Adam rides off on Battle Cat, and it looks like it's taken straight from the cartoon, which is fine. The movie looks beautiful. A lot of people say it's a Thor Ragnarok ripoff in the way it looks. No, but here's Stratos. Here's my favorite masters that we didn't get. Let me bring him up. See, look at that. He's badass. His arms, his wings are in the swarms. He's got that cool jetpack. And when you watch this is the version I grew up on. I grew up in the 2003 He-Man. Let me see. Or He-Man 2002. I believe 2002, 2003. Um, Adam actually looked different. Let's see. Trying to find a good picture. Um, ba, 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 ba. Zoom in on that. Here's the version I grew up on. And as you can tell, like the characters had more. The thing about He-Man, all the heroes, they're so unique, they're so interesting that it allows for so many great stories. And I feel like in this version of the He-Man movie, we didn't get that. We didn't get Orko didn't show up till the very like a big thing about the 80s series is it had that little life lesson segment at the end. The 2002 series did the same thing. It kept to that tradition. The movie had the same thing with Orko just popping up out of nowhere. Where were you the entire time? And Orko is one of the few, with along with Man-at-Arms and Battle Cat, that know Adam is He-Man. Spoilers: Adam is He-Man. And this is the kind of picture of He-Man I'm used to. The big, strong. We didn't get that. I feel we really did not get that. They played up the idea that all that He-Man does when he goes from Adam to He-Man is change clothes. And they even say that at the end of the movie, Adam runs off. There's a new mission, and Adam runs off to Castle Grayskull to grab the sword and transform. And all the masters that are standing around are like, does he know? He knows we know, right? And Duncan, Man-at-Arms, looks at him and says, "Oh, just let him have this." In the movie, Man-at-Arms is basically just a warrior. He's supposed to be this brilliant scientist. He's like the royal scientist of Eternos. Well, he's the drill instructor. He's the captain of the guard before Tila takes the job. And see, this is one of my favorite weapons. Is this his arm cannon? He literally has an arm that he can point out, and it becomes this huge blaster cannon. Not in the movie at all. He has a gun that he takes out of his like a leg holster, which to me it ruins all the fun of the character. It takes a huge part of the character, the brilliant scientist, and just disregards it, makes him a generic warrior. See, the thing about these characters in He-Man, they're not generic. They're not typical warriors. They're layered. And let's see. Here's in the series that I grew up with, here's the difference. This makes sense to me. Here's Adam, small, very lithe, very skinny, looks like he could run a track. But then when he transforms, this is into He-Man. He's the strongest man in the universe. He-Man is supposed to be the strongest man in the universe, and I did not feel that in this movie. I felt that he was a powerful warrior, but I did not feel that he was the strongest man in the universe. And let's see. I also enjoyed the 87 movie. That's the year I was born, so I watched it years later. But People Magazine did a good article comparing the characters. Let me bring that up, and I'll talk about the characters. Got Dolph Lundgren and Nicholas. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. So, nearly 40 years after He-Man made his big screen debut. Oh, that makes me feel old. Ugh. Debut, the 2026 remake of the Masters of the Universe is here. I'm not going to read all this. Here it is. Now, Dolph Lundgren, he was Drago in Rocky. He did so many great movies. He has a cameo in this movie, which it's a nice little callback to the 87 movie. But look at that difference, the definition between the two. We never see him as Prince Adam in the 87 movie, so that let's see. Chelsea Field and Camila Mendez as Tila, both good. She's very beautiful. Her uniform, her outfit is it's basically taken straight out of the cartoon and the other media. So Skeletor as Frank and Jared Leto. I like his performance, but I love the look of Jared Leto. Jared Leto plays the kind of insane, dramatic version. He's very, do this. He's evil for evil's sake, which I'm not a fan of usually in my villains, but it kind of worked with Jared Leto's performance. Meg Foster and Alison Brie as Evelyn. I like Alison Brie. I loved her, watching her since Community. You got to realize too, when comparing both movies, the 87 was a complete departure from the series. The 2026 is basically just like they took the characters and made them live action. They changed the setting. They changed how it looked, how Eternia looks like. Eternos is basically on the step of Castle Grayskull. The power of Gary Skull is a known thing, while in other versions, in the 2002 version, it was a closely guarded secret that Skeletor was trying to find out. But Alison Brie plays the I'm out for myself, I'm only with Skeletor for power aspect of Evil Lynn very well. Her look is really well done compared to the cartoon. Let's see. This is a completely different Man-at-Arms. This is just Duncan. I'm not going to call him Man-at-Arms. This is Duncan. John Cypher and Idris Elba. This is ridiculous. He-Man's inventive lieutenant was portrayed by John Cypher in the very first live-action film. Already a long-time actor, he was known for his roles in Spontaneous Combustion and the long-running series Major Dad. Of course, he was the general. I realize that now. He was an amazing singer. Major Dad, check it out on Tubi. It's a great show about a Marine major marrying a woman who's a very liberal woman with 3 daughters, so he becomes a stepdad. And the first season he's a combat major, and then he becomes an administrative major to this very quirky general, very scatterbrained general. I didn't realize that was him, but hearing it now that I realize it and hearing it, it makes perfect sense. There's an episode of Major Dad, I think in the 3rd season, where John Cypher sings from the Man of Mantura, The Impossible Dream, and he does it beautifully because that's a big song. You have to have a big voice because that song just boom at the end, and he does it amazing. Great singer, great actor. I didn't realize that was him. But I like Idris Elba, but it seems like this is the second time they've changed. They put him in place of other characters. They did it. They put him in as Roland in the Dark Tower series or Dark Tower movie based on the series by Stephen King, which was just god awful. And I love the books. I need to finish them. Sorceress of Grayskull, Christina Pickles, and And Morena Bracken, I've been a long time fan of her. I'm a brown coat for life. I cannot wait for Firefly, the animated series. I cannot wait for that. And let's look. So that's the main cast. Let's see. Let me bring up the sorceress from the movie. She looks. I can't find a good picture. There's a good picture. From her from Morena's Instagram, the sorceress in the okay. What is going on? I've shared it. Stop sharing. Share screen. Share. There it goes. You have the colors, the color scheme, the blues and the golds and the whites. The sorcerer looked amazing, and when she changed to Zora, it looked exactly like the eagle from the cartoons and the other series. But let's see. The thing I did not like the most, it was a straight. They chose strange characters to be in the movie, and I think like Fisto is a master with just a giant fist, a giant metal fist, and they made so many kind of crass jokes that it really didn't make sense. Let me bring up. This is him. So I mean, it's been a running gag for I think the entire run of the show since the 80s. That Fisto with his giant fist, he likes to fist things. His name's Malcolm, and that's the thing. This is the cartoon version, and you can see why is his fist so big? I never understood that. But so a thing like the movie starts off with this amazing epilogue of Adam as a little kid. He's smaller. He's the same age as all this, but he's smaller. He's the runt. But he's the fucking crown prince. And he's getting bullied in school. Because he's like a head and a half shorter than everyone. And Randor is sending them because, he needs to be a big master warrior. And so like this displeased, distant father king, you're the prince, you man up kind of thing. And then Skeletor attacks, takes over Eternos, and the sorcerer sends Adam through a portal to Earth. Marlena says, send him to my home. It's like, okay, why didn't his grandparents? Did Marlena not have any parents still on Earth? Because she, in the original story, we don't see this in the 2002 version of the show, but in the 2000 or the 87 and the 80s version, she's an astronaut that crash lands on Eternia from Earth, and Randor, or young Randor, saves her, and they fall in love and popped out 2 kids. And Adam, it can't hold on to the sword and ends up through the portal, drops it, and he falls into like a lake. He's telling all this to a girl on a blind date, and she's looking at him like, "Are you kidding me?" And she books it, rightly so. So Adam has grown up telling all these stories as if they're fact to everyone else. People thinking he's crazy. I'm surprised he wasn't institutionalized. It's and then Tila shows up. He finds the sword. Tila shows up, and Beastman chases him, and they return to Eternia and they fight. But here's the one of my biggest issues with the choice of characters and what they did with them is the character, the heroic warrior Mossman. Mossman is a Swamp Thing like character. He's basically the Swamp Thing of Eternia. He has control over plants. He's basically the guardian of all the forests of Eternia. He's super powerful. He has taken on multiple evil warriors, but this is what happens to him. He, along with the resistance, they get captured. And Skeletor knows the Sword of Power is back in Eternia, and he's trying to get the information out, and he unalives one of the characters. He chooses Mossman, one of the most powerful masters in the franchise, and this is what they do to him. This is what they turn him into. Mulch. One blast from Skeletor turns him into mulch. And guess who called him Mossman? Evelyn. None of the characters have their fun names. They're all made up by Adam as a kid. And there's a whole scene like at the end where they're standing around outside of Castle Grayskull victorious, and Tila looks at him and says, "So you called him Ram Man, him Fisto, him Mechaneck. What'd you call me?" And Adam gets very uncomfortable, and he calls her, she's like, Warrior Goddess, which is her name in the toy line, is Warrior Goddess. And then, like, luckily, like, Saved by the Bell gets an alert. It was ridiculous in some ways. So one thing I did not like is they tried to horseshoe a lot of jokes into the movie. Like, there's one scene where Man-at-Arms, after the fall of Eternos, he becomes basically a drunk who he's lost all confidence. He failed the royal family. You know, King Randor is captured, Marlena is captured, Adam's thought dead, so he becomes this drunk. And they have this really sweet moment before Tila and Adam run into Grayskull, where they find Tila and her father Duncan hug it out. They're like, oh, they reconcile. So they're having this really sweet moment. They're hugging, and then all of a sudden Adam comes into the shot and says, "Oh, this is beautiful. This is great, guys." And he ruins the moment. So many jokes were horseshoed in like that it ruined just the pacing. The pacing of the movie was thrown off by these horseshoed jokes. And it took me out of the scenes. And it just took you out of the story. It ruined, like, the pacing of the story. And so finally, like, since Skeletor has all the resistant fighters captured, he sends a message, this amazing message, which really is an interesting concept. Like in the aurora borealis of the sky, in the sky at night, he sends this message. He like projects his image, and he sends this message to He-Man: "If you don't bring the power sword to Snake Mountain, I'll unalive each person one at a time." So they march into it, and he has this epic fight. And one thing that they did, let me. Oh, what is their name? So, one thing they did that I thought was a nice callback uh, from to the 87 movie, there was a character who was original to the 87 movie. He was one of Skeletor's evil warriors, never been in the franchise before or since, named Krag. Krag is one of the evil warriors sent to find the cosmic key in the first movie. Completely original. And they brought him back and gave him a little role as one of the evil warriors. See, that's here's the 87 version. And here, along with what was that one's name? Spikor and Goatman is Krag, which I thought was a cool little throwback. And speaking of another throwback, there's a scene before Adam returns to eternity where he's in the gym and he's just struggling. He can't lift weights, and there's a guy, older man, giving him advice. It's Dolph Lundgren. It's his cameo in the movie. He gives him this sagely advice that just goes right over Adam's head. Everything seems in this film, they made Adam a complete idiot. It's like, okay, I understand, like, he's supposed to be lazy, he's supposed to be kind of weak, but why make him an idiot? And he ends the conversation. Adam's like, I don't understand what you're saying. Could you reiterate? And he turns around and he gives the line and the hand gesture from the movie, good journeys, Adam. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's a cool little throwback. But it seemed like there were a lot of throwbacks that were kind of overshadowed by these jokes being inserted. Speaking of casting, one of the things I did not like the most about the casting that I thought was weird was the casting of Kristen Wiig as Roboto. Roboto is this giant war robot that's supposed to have this in the 2002 version. I'm not sure about the 80s show. He has this generally robotic voice, like, "Hi, Adam, I am Roboto," that kind of thing. They could have done that, but they gave it, and I think they called her Robota at some point. And her, like, Duncan had reprogrammed her into a housemaid, from a war machine to a housemaid, because he tried to kill her. And like throughout the movie, they end up like changing her back. It was weird. It was a weird choice. And like, we don't see Cringer until like the last 30 minutes, where all the heroes are captured in the dungeons of Snake Mountain. It was weird. And then, so they're like, oh, we can't break the bars because they're like super strong. And Adam's like, well, around them there are stone. You're telling me these huge. This is like the doctor not thinking to check the door lock when he's in the cell in the day of the doctor. It's so weird. Like the simplest things. So Adam, being a PR, like a HR consultant, gives this speech, and it's supposed to be, this is the moment it's supposed to be a big rousing speech, and it falls flat because he keeps making these stupid mistakes. And he's like, well, we need to synergize. He's like, we need to synergize. We need to be as one. You know, it's like, oh, it's HR man, not he man. It's HR man. HR man, that's funny. It was, and then they break out and like it's rocks and dust flying out, and they're doing this big badass like slow walk out the jail cells, and they start choking on the dust. A joke that did not need to happen. Why Why are you taking it out on us? So, why are you taking us out of the scene like that? It was stupid. I don't. The the biggest issue I had story wise was the pacing. It kept just it build up, and then cut its legs out from under itself. This should have been action adventure fantasy. It should have been action adventure fantasy comedy. Was it comedy-ish? Because it tried so hard to be funny when it didn't need to be. Like there's a scene where the ship that Adam, Tila, and Men-at-Arms or Duncan escape Skeletor's forces are crashes into the forest, and so they're scavenging things from it. And Tila's trying to get something that's stuck under there, and Adam just comes up and lifts it like it's nothing. And so Tila bends down and grabs a box of supplies out, and he's like, "Oh, your loincloth's in my face." But I'm sorry. And Adam's like, "And can you hurry up? This is actually really heavy." Dude, you're the most powerful man in the universe. You should be able to pick that up over your head. It really the jokes, unnecessary jokes, so really just bother me. Like at the end where they're standing outside Grayskull, all just knocked over my trash. They're standing like arms. Ha 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 ha! We won! Ha 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 ha! It was so stupid. It was just stupid. And then all of a sudden, his roommate from Earth, who's spending the entire time when he's on camera with Adam, it's like, you're crazy, dude. This is why you can't get a date. You're crazy. You're at a dead end job because you're crazy. All of a sudden, he appears in the middle of the court, middle of Eternos. Oh wow! Thanks for coming to get me and proving you were right. Oh, this is crazy. While standing there around like Fisto, Mechanic, and Ram Man just standing over him. It was stupid. It was stupid. I did not enjoy this movie as much as I hoped. Like I said, it was beautifully well done. The cinematography was beautiful. It felt like an alien planet, but not totally alien. But they should have done what they did with Captain America. They should have gotten they could have either gotten a skinnier actor to stand in and CGI'd Nicholas's head onto the body like they did with Steve Rogers. But why they didn't is because they wanted to stay with the theme of the 80s TV show. So the movie ends where they're standing around outside Castle Grayskull, which is right outside Eternos. And they get an alert that an avian village, which that's Stratus, that's the only hint of Stratus we get in the entire movie, is there's an avian village under attack. And so Adam runs off, transforms, and then they do this. This is one thing they do a remix version of the Masters of the Universe cartoon, the 80s theme song. And then he's riding off and on Battle Cat. Because Cringer throughout this movie is like, if I'm going to do this, I need armor. Because, he's a coward, which is fine. Then it looks like the Battle Cat from the 80s cartoon. And he does, of course, the rearing up, oh, I have the power kind of thing, and movie ends. So then they have they're into this like Eternos garden where also an Orko pops up. Dude, where have you been? Your magic could have been useful the entire battle. And he does this, on today's episode, we learned blah, 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 blah. We learned that bravery or heroics are not all about muscle, or something like that. And then the credits run. And so there's a post-credit scene. Spoilers. They've set up for a sequel with She-Ra, which I think is a good idea. It starts off with what you think's the power, sword of power, is actually the sword of protection, and it has transforming this woman, and she's standing on a cliff in this dark and disgusting kind of polluted world, and you see this high tech. It's not Despondos. Oh, I can't remember the name. What's the Etheria, and you see like Hordak's city, and you see the our Commander Adora. She's like, no, not anymore, and she's in her She-Ra, and I hope they don't make her like a Mary Sue. I really don't want to see that. I want to see her and Adam, because it mentions like Duncan and Marlena have this moment where they're talking. She's happy that Adam's back, but you can tell she's still sad. And Duncan's like, well, maybe she'll come back too. He came back, maybe she can come back too. And it gives us a little hint at She-Ra. So all in all, this movie, due to the cinematography of it, the costumes of it, just like almost directly, for the most part, with a lot of these characters taken directly out of the cartoon, I give it a 6, maybe 5.5 out of 10. If you want a great action movie, find something else. If you want something that you can share with your kids, maybe. But if you're a fan of the original series or the 2002 version like me, be prepared to have your expectations kind of dashed. So thank you for listening. So before we go, I want to thank again everyone who comes to the Outpost. I'm so grateful for everyone who's here, but I want to give a special thanks to those who've already supported the Outpost monetarily. Squad Bob, Divinity Said Cake or Death, and Bertrand 850. Love you all. Appreciate it. If you want to support us more, I'd like to grow. I would love to be able to afford a subscription to StreamYard, because StreamYard a year or two ago changed the way they do things. So you don't really have access to many of the features. And I had a bunch of clips and sound bites that I don't have access to anymore. So help a brother out. If you feel the need to, go to buymecoffee.com/Outpost Nerd. I'd appreciate it to get your name added to the list. Keep an eye out. I'm working on ideas, trying to brainstorm some ideas for some merchandise, maybe some t-shirts or some hats. War Eagle. Something, maybe if you support, if you become a supporter, you get a discount on that. But I didn't enjoy the movie as much as I should have. I'm happy other people did, because like I always say, I'm the nerd of the Outpost. I love you guys. Find your passion and nerd out about it. I'm gone.
Lost in space, I found my beliefs. In this outpost of solitude, my way. Binary code run through my veins. With every beat and beep, I feel no pain. Signing off, it's time to go. Goodbye, my nerdy friends, see you later. I know through the stars we've shared this ride, but now it's time to say goodbye, farewell.